YouTube. What? Let's just try it again. No. Hold on, Facebook. YouTube is not starting. Leave. Next, yes. Live. We'll see. All right. Y'all let me know if y'all can see me. Facebook, top of the day. YouTube, we seem to be having some issues. I had to start it over. Can y'all see me? It was saying I was live, then I wasn't. Let me give y'all a second. Let me grab my boo while I'm trying to get it started. Y'all see me? Can y'all hear me? Facebook, I think y'all might be fine, but YouTube, I think we having issues. Yay, nay. Put a 2 in the chat. I don't know. I don't know if it's working. I was just having issues getting it started. Tabitha, okay, so y'all can see me. You can see me. I'm not frozen. I'm gonna wait just for a second. See if I gotta start it over again. I don't know what's happening with YouTube this morning. Facebook is working. I'm still not quite sure about YouTube. I don't know what's going on with it, y'all. Tabitha, can you see me? Am I frozen? Am I not frozen? Just, you great? Okay. All right. If you good, let me just me, shalom. Can you see me? Am I frozen? Am I good? My connection good? Because I had to start it over. Good? Okay, that must be good. 2 people said I'm good. I'm good. All right, y'all. Happy Tuesday. Auntie, Grand Rising. All right, beautiful people. It is Tuesday, February 7th, 2023, day 327 of year 4 of reading through books, laws, and prophets. And today, we're going to pick back up on page 25 in chapter 9 of Romance of the Red Star, which is another name for Oahspe. And in Big Blue, it's also chapter 9 on page 24. Then when we get done reading that for a little bit, we're going to hop on over and read a little bit more of the last chapter in the Field Guide to the Spirit World. And Father, we thank you that you have created us all alive in this realm and get the opportunity to grow here. All right, beautiful people. With that being said, everybody hanging out in the background, top of the day to you, but let's get rocking and rolling because I got my alarms set to stop me on time. All right, y'all. Chapter 9, page 25. When God's visit was ended, the host When God's visit was ended and the host notified, the Lord gave a banquet during which the angels sang and danced and trumpeted. After that, God and his host embarked on the ship in readiness to proceed on the journey, and the Lord and his host went up into the ship to take leave. God said, "When Dan approacheth, we shall meet again. May Jehovah prosper thy harvest till then." The Lord said, "That is another 100 years, O God. I almost live in a wilderness. I have not 10 millions of souls, mortals and spirits." God said, "Thy kingdom shall be mighty when I come again. May it glorify Jehovah." They embraced and separated. Each gave the sign of Jehovah's name. Upward raised the ship of God with banners outstretched, and taking course till west, sped on above the mountaintops like a meteor hurled from heaven. Meanwhile, the trumpeters gave forth the gladly solemn sound of the march of God. But ere the ship had made half its journey, an approaching light came forth from the far west, radiant and laden with hosts from the Lord of Dis. When the ships drew near and halted, God called with a loud voice, saying, "In Jehovah's name, all hail. I know my Lord cometh." And thereupon the Lord answered, "Hail to thee, O God, Son of Jehovah." And they turned the Lord's ship and lashed the Hail to thee, O God, Son of Jehovah. And they turned the Lord's ship and lashed the twain together, even as they sped on. And after they had all exchanged welcome and good wishes, the Lord said, "Ere we go to my exalted throne, let us survey the continent over which thy servant is Lord." And God answered, "Thy will be done, O Lord." And so they journeyed for many days, oft descending to the earth in places where the Lord's angels had begun colonies with mortals, impressing man with words of speech and to live in villages. And God said that all he saw was well done. So they came to the throne of the Lord and sojourned there for 60 days. And God and his hosts and the Lord and his Ashars and Asaphs were together in general reunion, praying, singing, and dancing, and reasoning on the endless works of Jehovah. But one book could not contain all that was said and done, and of the excursions made, and the visits over the mountains and plains, where in thousands of years hence man should live and build cities, and go to war and destroy them. And the mathematicians foretold the great cities and nations that would rise up, how this one and that one would move to battle, how their great cities will fall in ruins and be covered up by falling nebula, and by mountains washing down upon them, so that even their remembrance should be lost. And yet, further on, the mathematicians foretold the coming of Cosmon, when the ruined cities would be discovered and their histories deciphered by the suez of man in great Jehovah's hand. And now, when all these things were estimated, the prophets and mathematicians went before God as the Lord had commanded them, and they spake to God, Son of Jehovah, telling of all these wonders. And I know I mentioned this when we first started reading Oahspe a while ago, some months back. They're actually, if y'all have seen it on the Discovery Channel, they have this radar called, it's a LiDAR. I think it's LYDAR, and I could be spelling that wrong, but it's a LiDAR detector, and they've actually used it to detect a lot of cities, mind you, especially in the South America region. Not just there, but it's one that I remember really good because that's when I started awakening to what America really was. I'm just like, oh snap. Mom, shalom, Audrey, hey girl, hey. Y'all gotta go look into that. I'll probably share it again. LiDAR detector. And they're able to see, I ain't gonna say clearly, but they're able to see a good bit of covered land and region, especially portions that have been covered over by years of tree growth. And y'all know how y'all see movies and a city has been, like ancient cities they'll go visit, like Jumanji or something, and the wilderness takes back over, and unless you actually walk through there and travel, you would never know it was there. Just like looking at it from a higher distance, it just looks like all forest. But it's grown long enough to where it's completely covered, but it's still there, but it's hidden. But this is what the LiDAR detector can detect. And even things that have been covered underground, if it's like under sand, under dirt, even underwater, it's able to detect it now. It's really interesting. Y'all should check it out. When they had finished, God said, "What is our service on earth, O Lord? A few centuries at most, and we will have risen up from the earth, taking our hosts with us to dwell in higher realms. But there shall be other gods and lords after us to deal with mortals and spirits newly born. After a while, there shall be great warriors and great cities and nations, and they shall have gods and lords of their times who will dwell many a weary year, a century, in the darkness with man. After that, again, even the gods and lords will be forgotten. And man will turn against great Jehovah, putting to death his worshippers, themselves preferring idols of stone and metal, and spirits of men born of woman." The Lord said, "And yet further on a brighter light adorneth the way. Great Jehovah's hand sendeth the traveling worlds into the light of Cosmine, and new prophets arise, gathering up the histories lost, and glorious plan of great spirit all over." Let me read that again. The Lord said, "And yet further on a brighter light adorneth the way. Great Jehovah's hand sendeth the traveling worlds into the light of Cosmine, and new prophets arise, gathering up the histories lost, and glorious plan of the great spirit over all. Yea, even our labor and our ships will be seen by mortals of that day." And I believe, personally, I believe this is why there are so many chemtrails and cover up of the sky. Not just because they want to rain down chemicals and kill people slowly, but I think they're really covering up things which were designed to be seen in this era, right? And it may not be, I ain't gonna say it may not be such a bad thing, but shoot, go on and just break everybody in. Some people might have a heart attack and die. And that's the horrible part, right? But it's gonna become a natural part of life here in the Cosmine era, right? We'll begin to see the unseen really merge with the seen, right? Because we have to keep elevating. We have to keep growing, right? Lavon, blessings. Stephen, shalom, shalom. Thus they discoursed, reading the past and future and weighing the present, whilst angels, less informed, gather around to learn how worlds are peopled and nations and cities destroyed, the far off and the near at hand being as nothing in Jehovah's vast universe. But the time came for God's departure, and he and his traveling hosts embarked, and the Lord and his hosts drew around to receive God's prayer ere he left. And so after they had embraced, God said, "Thou I go away, my love abideth with you all. And now, O Jehovah, bless these my fellow laborers, and make them strong to endure their great trials. Thine is the power and glory, O Father. Amen." The ship rose up, and the host exclaimed, "Glory to thee, O Jehovah, forever and ever." Chapter 9. I'm sorry, not chapter 9. That's the end of chapter 9. Chapter 10. Shamisha, shalom, sis. Jehovah spake to God, saying, "Steer thy ship to the south land, my son, and visit the Lord of Vohu." Remember, Vohu is the continent of Africa, or what we call Africa today. And God went as commanded to the south, running close to the earth, over deserts and mountains. But when they were a short way on the journey, when they were a short way on the journey, they were met by the ship of the Lord, who had been apprised of God's coming. And they made fast to the vessel of God, and all the angels saluted and intermingled, having known one another for hundreds of years, and some for more than 1,000 years. The Lord said, "On our journey, let us run through the valleys and the banks of rivers, for it is here that both Asu and men dwell." And so they journeyed, surveying the earth as they sailed above. The country was mostly barren, supporting neither man nor beast. But by the river sides man dwelt, burrowing in the ground to avoid the heat by day and the cold by night. And as they came to places where the angels of the Lord were dwelling with mortals, having inspired them to make villages and to hide their nakedness. Hold on. I read that wrong. I said it right, but the tone was wrong. Let me go back. The Lord said, on our journey, let us run through the valleys and the banks of rivers, for it is here that both our Sioux and men dwell. And so they journeyed, surveying the earth as they sailed above. The country was mostly barren, supporting neither man nor beast. But by the river sides, man dwelt, burrowing in the ground to avoid the heat by day and the cold by night. And they came to places where the angels of the Lord were dwelling with mortals, having inspired them to make villages and to hide their nakedness. The Lord said, behold, O God, only the unseen is potent over man. Could the beast or the stones of the forest tell man to hide his nakedness? He would not. Neither would he heed his brother's voice. Without experience, man cannot be advised profitably to himself, for so hath Jehovah made him. That's good. That's a big key to why a lot of people, when we give them advice about stuff, most people will not listen. Those who have had enough experience to recognize wisdom when they see it, actually take it, they'll weigh it, and they will adjust. Even if they don't take all of it, they're going to test it in little steps like, oh, shoot, this might be right. Let's keep going with this advice. But most people, they don't. It's like they have to experience it themselves. Otherwise, it just won't click for them. That's not such a bad thing, because now you got experience and you can tell people exactly how and why a strawberry tastes like a strawberry, right? You sound a little bit more convincing. And it's good that way. Look. Because man cannot discern angel presence, the angels alone can teach man and inspire him to new life. For they talk to him in his sleep and show him what is for his own good. Hold on, let me go back. I meant to go back up a little bit further. Okay. The Lord said, behold, only God, the unseen. The Lord said, behold, O God, only the unseen is potent over man. Could the beast or the stones of the forest tell man to hide his nakedness? He would not. Neither will he heed his brother's voice. Without experience, man cannot be advised profitably to himself, for so Jehovah made him. Because man cannot discern angel presence, the angels alone can teach man and inspire him to new life, for they talk to him in his sleep and show him what is for his own good. And when he waketh in the morning, he imagines it was himself talking and is ambitious to obey himself. Patient and of long endurance are the angels of Jehovah. Who you telling? God said, will man ever know he hath been raised up? Will he be believing, or will he too need to go to some world and raise up the first fruits thereof and toil his hundreds of years with naked mortals? O Jehovah, how wisely thou hast shapen the laborers of How wisely hast thou shapen the labors of the believing and the unbelieving. Lo, man cometh forth out of the earth, boasting of his unbelief, saying, except I see with my own eyes and feel with my own hands, I will not believe. Aren't those the exact words of the person we know as Doubting Thomas? See, except I see with my own eyes and feel with my own hands, I will not believe. But thou, O Jehovah, hast fitted a labor for his eyes and for his hands to his heart's content. And yet another man cometh forth out of the earth, believing, and quickly he mounts to the thrones of thy exalted heavens. The Lord said, who knoweth thy wisdom, O Jehovah? Who cannot perceive thee in the foundations of thy everlasting worlds? Thou hast provided nurses for the new earth, and thou wilt bring forth on earth many who will, in the far future time, be laboring as thy lords and his angels labor here. Of what expanse is thy wisdom, O Jehovah? Thus they conversed and journeyed forth till they reached the throne and place of the Lord. And here they made fast their ships, and they descended down to the city of Angu, which was situated about the middle of the continent of Vohu. And the Lord now sent messengers to all the Ashars in his dominions, appointing 10 days of rest and time for feasting, music, dancing, and worshiping Jehovah. And the hosts of the Lord and of God held a reunion, being the first for over 100 years. And then God went about all over the continent of Vohu, inspecting the work the Lord had done, and he pronounced it good before Jehovah. When God had rested the full time, he and his hosts entered the ship of God, and taking leave of the Lord and his hosts, departed on the journey, saluting the Lord with 1,000 trumpeters in the name of Jehovah. Oh, we're doing good today. Chapter 11, we're only at 18 minutes. And now came the long journey across the ocean. God said, "Great is thy wisdom, O Jehovah, in the division of waters. These barriers provide nations against nations. These barriers provide nations against nations. A refuge thou hast made beyond the waters, and the evil man cannot pursue. But greater still are thy spirit oceans, O Father. The spirits of darkness cannot cross over, and the spirits of newborn people are not contaminated. Thou far-seeing, thou bestower of thrift into the hands of thy gods and thy lords." The master of the ship provided well for the journey, and presently the vessel of fire sped over the water, high above the clouds that cover the ocean. Onward to the bleak and desolate west, on the far-off coast, the Lord of the land of Thori stood, stationed in a ship to welcome God to the great west lands. And Thori is the Americas, north, middle, north, central, and south, right? And this was the land called by the angels in aftertime North Gautama, signifying the meeting of nations and the dawn of Cosmon. You know what? I responded to what's crazy is when you break, and I'm gonna go back to what I was just saying, when you break out of like religious strongholds and ways of thinking, when you circle back round to it, or somebody asks you something, it kind of like shocks you, like, oh man, people still believing like that? And it ain't been so long that I was deeply rooted in the whole Israelite movement, right? Waiting on the chariots of heaven to come deliver us from Babylon, right? This sounded so foreign to me day before yesterday. Oh snap. Okay, there y'all go. I'm sorry, Facebook. Animalistic nature, shalom. Listen. Somebody made a post, and it was a channel I used to watch all the time. Now I can't really stomach the channel because of, and I say this in the nicest way, because of all the, and not that I know everything, because clearly I don't, right? But I can tell how much I've grown, or people who are still there would think I'm like way far off, right? Simply because where they believe, like they're still, it's sad to me because they're still waiting. To me, and I told them, I say, this is no different from the strong delusion of waiting for the rapture, right? They just got y'all doing it in a different manner. Now you're just waiting on the chariots to be delivered from Babylon, right? Whether it's the chariots or a savior coming from somewhere to physically rescue you from Babylon, right? The label America, Babylon. But if we can define Babylon, we can't just pin it down to America. We can like literally say it's literally everywhere. You're just going to experience it in a different fashion, right? And I would say the Babylon here in America, at least you, how can I say this? Let's say the illusion. At least you have the not just, I can't say that. I really can't say that. Okay. What I was about to say, at least you have the illusion that you have more freedom here in America. And in ways that might be true. But if you're blind, you're just blind all the way around, right? So I say that when I look at like physical things, like in America, you got, they tell you You have like freedom of speech and all these other things. But when I think about it, that's really an illusion. Because if they really want to shut you up, they know how to do it in ways with paper and words where it make you think, yeah, I got freedom of speech, but you really don't for real. We don't really realize how can I use that? How sheltered we are. I can say sheltered. How sheltered we are with the education that they give here and what they perpetrate through school. I wouldn't necessarily, well, it just depends on how you look at it. Because you can take any situation and learn from it and grow. But each country indoctrinates its own nation in a certain way, right? So growing up here in America, there were things that I used to believe that I really didn't believe anymore once you get outside of the boundaries of America and get to experience other cultures on other continents in other places. There's a different outlook about things. And especially when it comes to this, and what I've noticed, I haven't, when I visited Africa, I was there for a very short period of time while I was in the military. It's literally just a very, very, very short period of time. Didn't really even get a chance to explore for real, right? Because I had did something foolish. I got in trouble. So that kind of killed that for me. But anyway, from the people that I know who live there, right, it's a different outlook. And it seems like a lot of people, because of the whole Israelite movement, and I could be explaining this wrong, but this is just my observation, right? A lot of people from other continents, they're trying to get into America because of the illusion. Not just an illusion. I keep saying that, but it really depends on your mindset, right? Because when you're broken free of a lot of indoctrinations and you just grow on a spiritual, physical, individual level, you'll realize that there really aren't any bondages, right? And you're literally free to travel about the continents anytime you please. You really can. If you haven't done something to get yourself in trouble and bind yourself to the continent, like you've been a thief, you got in trouble with the law, like if you're keeping nose clean and all that stuff, you really can literally travel all over the world. There is nothing keeping us bound here, nor anything keeping anybody else bound to where they're at, except for their own decisions, right? So it's a lot of people. I got on this because this particular post and all the people that was chiming in, I was just like, man, it really saddened me because it's like, man, I used to think this channel was a light. Now it just seems like it's a depressing darkness that keeps people in the same place. And it's not really their fault because I was there. I was actually listening to this channel. I learned a lot. I really did. But when I got all that I needed, it was time for me to keep going because at a certain point I realized they just kept going around in circles too. Like when you're new to a place and you learn all the ins and outs, like, okay, what's next? And you get that same thing happening to you that happens when you get in church, right? Some churches will keep growing, keep teaching new things, but a lot of, they just keep going around the same bend, going around that same wilderness, talking about the same thing over and over again. It's like, man, dog, how often are we going to talk about being rescued from Babylon? I'm like, darn, is you in good working order? Can you think? We may not have any pilots, but can everybody get a passport? Well, let's just travel. If somebody coming to get us, well, shoot, let's just go check out a few different places. It seems like they tarrying for a long time. Shoot, they probably hanging out with Jesus and the Christians. They waiting for him. We waiting for Hamashiach. I'm starting to think Hamashiach and Jesus Christ, it's the same person. Is we waiting on? No, they waiting on their Christian Savior. Well, who is we waiting on? The Israelite Savior? They got to be tarrying at the same place, or they following the same plan, because nobody came for nobody. Whether you believing in Allah or wherever, everybody's waiting on their particular Savior. Everybody waiting. I'm starting to think the Saviors are in cahoots together, and we're just wasting time. Everybody's dying and going to the grave. Every generation been talking about the return of their Savior coming and getting them, taking them to some type of promised land. Is anybody talking about these details? And that's why I started to get frustrated with the Hebrew movement, because I wanted to keep growing, but they want to keep talking about the same thing. And they want to just sit there and wait and not do anything. Just like the Christians, they get to a certain point and they get sick of the world. They get sick of the earth. It's like, Jesus, I can't wait for you to come back. I'm sick of this place. Take me home now. I'm like, really? What you going to do with the rest of your waking good life? Just go to work, keep hoping, making videos telling everybody the Savior is coming? Can we at least go travel the world while we're waiting on said Saviors to come get us? And I started to get a little agitated with the people. But the whole point of saying is, people consciously I knew that, but to actually kind of go back into that atmosphere, it just like really did something to me, like really saddened me. And when you try to kind of just like, hey man, have you ever considered? Because a couple people like with my comment, and I thought about how I made my comment, right? I ain't going there, but like, man, y'all dummies believing. I ain't going there doing nothing like that. But I was like really sad. I'm like, okay, how would I like say this like to my child, like Bella, like somebody that still kind of really believes in some fairy tales and stuff? Like, I don't want to crush them, but I gotta at least plant seeds to let them know, hey, babe, this is just a phase. You're going to see as you get a little bit older, Santa Claus ain't real. Like, he's not coming down the chimney. Stop leaving cookies and milk, right? And with my comment, there was somebody that actually just laughed, like, girl, get out of here. You in the wrong place. Do you even believe? You might not even be an Israelite. And I'm just like, oh, sheesh. Like, it's a hard place to be when you grow. And it's like, I'm not even sure how y'all can keep surviving year after year after year and getting no results of anybody coming to get y'all or any further plan, at least on how y'all gonna strategize and get picked up out of Babylon. Like, some people's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna wait. Well, I got family members that can't even pay for their ways. The Messiah said, we ain't gonna have to worry about nothing. Shoot, we was born over here against our will. They're gonna need to take us back. I'm like, bro, y'all is gonna keep waiting. Cause ain't nobody shipping y'all back. I mean, you got people that'll get in there and get with you, in the comment. Like, I wish I send all y'all origins back to Africa. And some people's like, well, I'm waiting, sis. My address is here. This is my bank account. Go ahead and put the money. You see that foolishness going back and forth in the comment section. But it's really sad to see people stagnant, and not so much stagnant, but full of health, like not even using critical thinking skills. I think that's what the bad part about it is. Like, you can use your critical thinking skills and actually just kind of think about some stuff. Even if you don't fully believe it, man, just travel, get outside of the borders of America, experience other life. Realize that when you get in other places, they have no clue about this whole Israelite movement. Some people do, if they're well connected to the internet. But people who aren't connected to the internet, they're completely oblivious unless they got friends that's talking to them about it. Case in point, when I was steeped in Christianity, I had never heard about, clearly I heard Israelites, but I didn't realize there was like a whole movement and people waiting on chariots or whatever, or a Messiah also to deliver them from actual America, right? Which they call Babylon. The whole unfolding process of all this, it really just like blows my mind. But people, that's how strong indoctrination is and can be. And sometimes, although Apostle Paul got his shenanigans, but there are some things that he said that can be said about the Israelites, right? Especially when they realize, and once they start looking into the actual God that they worship, thinking it's true creator. Oh my gosh, that's the most terrifying part. But the whole reason of bringing it up is it saddens me that people who have their life, health, and strength just don't ask questions. Like, y'all been waiting. I've come through that channel, through this movement, like 3 years ago, right? And still some of the same people. I'm like, none of y'all have asked questions in these last 3 years. Some of the same people still the same stuff. And some of the social medias I'll go through and just, I'm like, oh, shoot. I'm like, y'all, how long can y'all be fed a story before asking some other questions other than the questions that they feed to you, right? And it's heart-wrenching, and it's really disgusting. It really makes me want to throw up to know that people can, and it's even more heart-wrenching on another level that the people who are leading the people don't even know that they leading the people in circles. And like, it's like none of y'all are asking questions, and like you're okay with going in circles. You talk about the Israelite going around in circles in the wilderness, but y'all are literally waiting to be taken to a wilderness that you know not of. And some of them are debating whether the wilderness is here in the midst of the people or actual wilderness away. And they still don't even have a good understanding of the wilderness away from reading the Bible, because even there, if you're not paying attention to the details, they weren't in the wilderness by themselves. They were amongst other nations, because they was constantly killing the people, taking over their lands everywhere they went in the wilderness. I'm just like, what is y'all reading? I was like, has nobody opened their eyes yet with just the Bible? Like, y'all are not seeing the details, right? Even with some of the stuff like with Father Hasatan, the dude who was talking about yesterday that Selah interviewed. Some of the things about Canaan, right? Not Canaan, with Cain and Abel, right? If you read in the Bible, right, even the sacrifices that they had made, the one that was accepted by the Lord was was Abel. Abel gave the choicest, fattest calf, right? He murdered an animal. And Cain, which offered the first fruits of his field, the good aroma, the smelling stuff, like what we're talking about now. It's like, wait, how come we didn't catch on to that? Like, how was Cain's not accepted when it was plant-based? It was wholesome. It was like the things that literally keep the body alive over the one who was supposed to be good, Abel. And he went and slaughtered the choicest calf and offered that. I'm just like, how do we read this and not catch this, right? Nobody asked that question. So why was Abel actually accepted when he actually murdered and Cain actually did what was conducive to life? How was he kicked out? Like, how was he? Like, all of these things, like, I question everything now. When you're taught to look at things from one perspective, it's like you're completely blinded to everything else around it. Like, you just cut off bits and pieces, like information that is vital to understanding the big picture. You're taught to ignore it, and it's right in front of your face, and you will read from it, but it's like you're reading something sealed or closed book. Like, you're reading it, but you're not really reading it, if that makes any sense. Listen, it wasn't Abel that killed, but Cain. It wasn't Abel that killed, but Cain. You got some of the stories mixed up. Like, you got different versions from different, hold on, let me pull it up. Did I say that backwards? Hold on, let me just pull this up now. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Let me make sure I'm saying it right. We'll go to Bible Hub. Hold on, y'all. Cain and Abel. I'm pulling up in the Bible in Genesis. I forget which chapter. Hold on. Genesis chapter 4. Hold on. How goes the NLT version? They all okay. Hold on. That's what I thought, y'all. Hold on. Let me separate this. Hold on. Set apart is saying the story was switched in the Bible. Okay, yeah, in the Bible. Okay, yeah, because in the Bible, that's why I say there's a couple different versions of this story. But the Bible, what I'm talking about is the story from the Bible going along with what I was saying about them asking questions, like if you begin to question why your God says to kill, right? Once you go on this whole thought process, you got to start picking apart everything, especially the story with Cain and Abel, because in here it says that Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord, and Abel brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs of his flock, right? So here in the Bible, it literally lists Abel, the one that the Bible calls good. It lists him as the murderer, the one who takes life. It lists Abel as the one who was slaughtering, taking life, giving a flesh sacrifice, and Cain as the one who does it right, like what we do, right? Plant-based, everything, right? Dana, hey girl, hey, ain't it though? This legacy impact coach and those filters in our mind are powerful. I read scriptures for years and never connected the dots, right? And that's what I'm talking about. So once you start connecting the dots here, and that was just an example, like you gotta ask a question, like, okay, so why was Abel's gift accepted and Cain's not? Like, you would think it would be the other way around, especially if the Creator comes to give life and life more abundantly. Like, that's what the scriptures teach you, right? That the Father gives life and life more abundantly. And even a lot of scriptures in the Old Testament where it tells you that the sacrifices and offerings of burnt calves and stuff, he was tired of it, right? There were portions in here through the books of the prophets that was telling them, don't do this. And at that time, I realized there's a switching of the tone and the voice, right? So I think that was true God. This is when you understand some stuff and you read the Bible enough, you begin to notice the different voices that are speaking, even though they label those voices as being the same entity. Sometimes they'll switch it, put in Lord with big capital letters. Sometimes it'll be Lord with a capital L, lowercase O-R-D. But even there was multiple gods and lords that were speaking. And if you don't read it enough, you really never catch it, which is why a lot of people stay indoctrinated and bound to the things that they're taught. And they look at it how other people teach them to look at it without getting in there deciphering things for themselves, right? I thought Cain killed the animal all this time. No, Abel gave, Jamil said, Abel gave of the ground and Cain of the fat. But in the Bible, it teaches that Cain gives of the field and Abel, the one who was slaughtered, gave the fattest portion. That's what it just said. If you go to Genesis, that's the New Living Translation, right? Genesis chapter 4, verse 3, right? Matter of fact, I'll just read from 1. And it's the whole chapter on Cain and Abel. It's the New Living Translation. I'm gonna read it from here, then I'm gonna go to the KJV just for the heck of it. But something I have noticed though, and it could be, but as long as I've been alive and been reading the Bible, at least from every time I've read it, it says that Cain gave of the crops of the field and Abel actually brought the gift of the lamb from his flock, right? It's always been Abel, at least from what I've seen. But I have noticed, and we talked about this some years ago, before we had even heard about Oahspe or was even really, before we really even deciphered that the whole Israelite movement was also another trap. That whole Israelite movement is a trap for another whole race of people that is just, every race of people has, just like every race of people has their gifts and stuff that they can bring to humanity, every race of people also has a trap that they fall victim to, right? And they get you going and they try and get you coming, right? They get you coming and they try and get you going, whatever. They're going to try and get you whichever way they can get you. And there's no holds barred now. If you break free from Christianity and you pass through the Hebrew root movement, everything is going to, along with the peer pressure of everybody in that movement, brother, and the feel good of the Black Power movement, all this kind of stuff that that makes your flesh feel good and help you identify. Is the whole thing with the black, they trying to identify who they really are because they've been lied to for so long. Like, all of these things play a part of all of this. You got to break through all of this rubbish to grow. And if you look at, you just got to kind of look at it a different way. It's almost like the process of a diamond. And not that we're the only race that happens to, but every race has their thing that they have to pass through to really break through the darkness of night and begin to break through and begin the process of being even recognized as a diamond, right? And each individual race has its own beauty about it. And as they're refined and they're shined and their shine can be seen by others, they're kind of like raising up in higher levels, and they can help other people get free as well, right? But they're just like it's just like that process, but also you just got to kind of wade through all of this garbage and not get caught up by it. And a lot of people get caught up in the process and never keep growing. They get stuck right in the midst of the process, and they just kind of circle there. Whether you're circling around in Christianity, going around in circles waiting on Messiah, Jesus Christ, to come back and get you, or you break through out of there. Woo, I'm free. No, you ain't, B. We got another level to refine you. Let's go. And you circle around here for a few years, you know, Hamashiach, using all the Hebrew terms and stuff, sounding crazy, trying to talk Hebrew, learning it, can't get the accent right. Like, all of this stuff, you just keep circling around till you break out of here, right? You broke out of there, bro, we're going to get you with reincarnation. But I think this may sound wrong. I want to say it's a needful process, but it's a process that works if you keep on moving and breaking through, because each time you get caught up in something, you learn a little bit more about different bondages, and you become a little bit more useful. If you break out of it, you become a little bit more useful, and you become a brighter light to help others to break free, right? It's like you make tracks, you leave breadcrumbs and light. That's the best way, probably not the best way I can explain it, but by breaking free, you help others to break free. But when you're stuck and you just go around the bend, you ain't really helping nobody. Y'all just getting further and further diluted. Hold on. It wasn't Abel that killed the animal, but Cain killed it to eat the flesh and clothe himself, right? Abel gave a living sacrifice. But if you read it, excuse me, if you read in, the story changes in a lot of different places, because you're right, in the Holy Megillah, I think it was Cain. I'm almost certain that it was Cain. Pull it up. Y'all get it yet? Y'all get the new one? I got both versions. Hold on. And even the other ones I was talking about yesterday. Hold on. With the Enoch book, the books of remembrance, it talks about Cain, and it goes into some detail of how he was taught to hunt and stuff. And let me see, disturbance outside. No, that's too far. Oh, it is 7:10. Oh, darn it. Y'all, we ain't gonna get to Field Guide to the Spirit World. Oh, no. Okay, the Nazarene Genesis. Y'all know what it said. Y'all that's been reading it. Abdiel, hold on. But you're right. Hold on. We must slay the lamb. Nope. It's Adam and Eve. But you're right. We'll call Abdiel to Abdiel is Abel here. But But you're right. The stories switch depending on what you're using. Every other thing says that Cain actually was the one who slaughtered the animal. But in the Bible, it's weird because you would think that it would give you the right story in the Bible. That's what we think, right? But in the Bible, the Holy Bible, it tells us that Abel was the one that slaughtered, right? And that was the whole point. I'm gonna have to go through here. Oh, fleshly diet. Hold on. Oh, hold on. I think this is it. Like, perceive the remedy for this great evil, to return to a fleshless diet. Yep. Because this is talking about here, it has it the right way, right? Well, I don't know if I want to say the right way, because now I'm picking apart the lineage of the Israelites in the Bible, and it's like, I don't know. I don't want to call it the satanic seed or whatever, but let me see. Abdiel saw now that the garden was polluted. Satanic seed was mixed with God's seed. Now there were two spirals planted in this garden, the upward spiral into heavenly realms of light and bliss, and the downward spiral into hellish realms of darkness and pain. Behold, the downward spiral always exists as a possibility, but now on this world, as in many other worlds, the downward spiral was an actuality. And lo, at the moment it was made manifest, many thousands of demonic entities of various types flocked to this world, some with bodies, some disembodied. Some of the disembodied were called pain suckers, for they feed on the emotional pain of other beings. It tells us that in Oahspe, but in another way, they engraft onto people. And all the pain suckers are of the family called parasites. The most dangerous of the suckers are those called pain farmers, for they plant seeds of discord in order to increase their harvest of pain. Like a lot of that stuff we learned about in the Field Guide to the Spirit Realm, right? I like how this talks about this. Okay, listen right here. Abdiel perceived how the demons were able to enter the bodies of their unsuspecting hosts, although the laws of nature work against demonic possession, for no entity should be able to enter the Beit Sa'ahur, or the ovum of light of another, without permission. Or what they're saying is no spirit can engraft itself upon you without your permission. Like, you have to, either you're going to get oppressed, possessed, or depressed by the spirit outside of you, or you can actually just freely allow a spirit to overtake you. But either way, it has to have a permission by you consciously, or by you not understanding your body and what happens to it and how you open yourself up to other entities, or unconsciously you're going to allow them entrance into your vehicle and take over your body. I just really love how this explains that. And Abdiel perceived how demons were able to enter the bodies of their unsuspecting hosts, although the laws of nature, or the laws of the great creator, the true creator, work against demonic possession, for no entity should be able to enter the Beit Sa'ahur, or the ovum of light, or your spirit, your aura, or of another without permission. The demons found that they could slow the vibration of, and thereby weaken, the Megan Ahur, the shield of light of creatures, by getting them to eat flesh. Yea, the demons found that they could pierce the light shield of creatures, the light shield, or your aura. Yea, the demons found that they could pierce the light shield of creatures who fell from the fleshless diet to a diet of flesh. And once they entered the light ovum, behold, they could enter even the physical body of the unsuspecting host. And by entering the body of a host, the demons gain two things. One, they may now whisper into the minds of their hosts. Two, they may experience vicarious thrills through the sense organs of their host. Right? Remember, because they're disembodied and they want to come reincarnate so they can continue living their life. And when they're done with you and your body go to the dirt, they just go pick somebody else, right? So, but eating flesh is a way that happens, right? It's a clear route to demonic possession, but Thanks be to the most holy. Even in our ignorance, right? Before we actually knew this, before all these things started coming to light, that our hearts were pure. And I think that's also a protection for us who are ignorant at stages, not realizing what flesh does, not just to the physical body, but to the spirit as well. It makes it dense. It makes it heavy. You float around here and you make yourself a willing, open vehicle for disembodied brethren and sisters who are locked here in this first heaven for a little bit, right? So they clean up. But yeah, in here it tells us that Abel was the one who was plant-based, and Cain was the one who was actually offering the meat and slaughtering and stuff, right? But doesn't that seem strange that the Bible has it backwards? That was the whole point of me saying that, right? Nobody asked that question. It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. Okay, y'all done said a whole bunch of stuff. And I might have to pause right here. I don't even think I'm going to be able to finish this chapter. Hold on. Let me go back. Y'all look like y'all said some good stuff. Oh, yeah, 7:17. Oh, okay, hold on. Go back up to set apart. She said it wasn't Abel that killed, but Cain. Fritz said, Fritz Shalom. Said, yep, killed the animal. And Jamil said, set apart is saying the story was switched in the Bible. Dana, those filters in our mind are powerful. I read those scriptures for years and never connected the dots. So you can find this out in the other books. Set apart say it right clearly because, and if you, like I said, if you go get I keep never remembering the name. The books, look, it's crazy. I keep forgetting it, but it's called the Book of Remembrance. The books of remembrance, you can clearly see that. And I think it's in the one, hold on, let me see. It's right here. The one, if y'all haven't read the Book of Remembrance of our ancient grandmothers, this, I ain't gonna say the whole thing, most of it is on YouTube, and there's somebody that reads it who has a really beautiful voice, really, really clear. And it kept me engaged the whole time. Like I literally listened to it in the one day. But it gives a little bit of information in here. Okay. Was it here? Hold on. I had to go through it, but it's either that one or the Book of Remembrance of Enoch. Hold on, let me see if this one. You can find the same. It gives more information. Okay. Urim. Instructions. Tablet. Baby canal. First temptation. I think it begins in chapter 6. Dividing the earth. The account of the dividing of the earth, and also of Matzah, the lamb, first revealing fully that he would come in the flesh. Some of this stuff in here, it kind of gives you the Christianity feel once it gets towards the end. So I'm not sure how much this was tampered with, but this was the Enoch. Check in, and I'm going to double check this in a little while. 173, page 173. Let me check real quick. Oh, wait. No. Baby. I'm gonna look for it, and I'm gonna give y'all the page number if y'all got it. If y'all don't have it, I don't even think this is online. It could be. Last time I checked, it wasn't, which is why I got it. But I haven't read it that much where I can pinpoint it. But I know it's in one of these two. But I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna share it with you just in case you do have it, or you want to order it. You can kind of like go right to it and see. But it is, that's another thing. It's the Cain and Abel stories are switched around. Like I said, the whole point is if you start reading through the Bible and you read through it a lot like I did, and you start noticing some of these things, some questions should come up. And a lot of time I realize some people who are really indoctrinated, it's like they'll see it, but they was like, oh yeah, you got a point, but it's like they'll just like brush it off. Like the indoctrination teaches you to brush off your natural tendency to ask questions, and for some reason just make you blame it on the devil, like he's trying to give you seeds of doubt about what your common sense and your intellect is trying to tell you. Like your intellect and your common sense is trying to wake back up at every turn. And that's, I ain't gonna say the beauty about Christianity, because it's not, but if they have one skill down packed to the T, if I needed somebody indoctrinated, I would go to the Christians to learn how to do that strong delusion, because they do it so well. And people themselves will fight you to keep hold of that strong delusion. That's how powerful it is. And it is so hard for people to break out of it. And when you think you almost free, they hit you with them words of Apostle Paul, right? If anybody else come preach another gospel, even if it be an angel, consider him accursed, right? And now everything else, nothing else matters now, because now you worried about losing your salvation and being accursed because of what Apostle Paul said. I'm just like, bro, I tell you, they get you coming, they gonna get you going, right? But somebody got to have the strength to take one for the team when you're trying to get free. Like I said, if it was back in the slavery days, I probably would have been that one. I know Master said if we leave out of here, it's a guard standing right there and they're going to take our head off right at the door. But somebody got to check, because ain't nobody checking. Like it's like tying an elephant down to the ground with this pin, put a chain around it. You indoctrinate the elephant so long, elephant can literally kill you. It could just take his trunk without even thinking about it, just knock you out the way. But I think it's a really good illustration that the elephant being chained to a ball that's not even chained to anything, just a rolling ball and a chain. Attach it, don't you go nowhere. This ball is going to keep you here forever. Like elephant, if you don't just move your legs, swing that ball and bust him open, I know something is wrong. We all should know something wrong. Like, we're that elephant chained. We can see the chains, but we ain't chained to nothing. We ain't chained to nothing. There's the illusion. There might be a little ball there, but shoot, if it's enough of us that wake up, we got the strength to move the weight of that little ball that ain't chained to nothing else. If anything, let's just slide around with the ball on our ankle. The ball gonna go where we go. Come on. Nah, that ball's supposed to stay right here in this room. Don't even open the door. And they pit you against one another for the one that get the strength and the courage to go peek out the door. Don't do that. Master gonna take your head off. Like, look, how we ever gonna know? We ain't never gonna know. They come in here like 2, maybe 3 times a day for whatever reason, make sure we all in place and ain't nobody stepping out. But after they see that this is working, they don't ever have to put a guard there at the door, because they done indoctrinated us so good that we gonna keep our own self in line with our own indoctrination. I'm going to peep out the door, my G. Listen, I got to find somebody else. That ain't gonna tell on me, because if you try and break free, they try and steal Reggie give. I'm telling Master. And you just fall back in line for a little bit and make them think that you falling back in line too. But I got to re-strategize. Now I know who I can and who I can't talk to, right? And a lot of times you got to go at it alone. And a lot of times you just got to break out of there by yourself, because even though other people want to be free, when the time comes to be free, they're more content with staying in bondage because it's familiar, right? It's like the Bible teaches you, that we would have stayed in the land of Egypt. It was so much better. At least they gave us our food there, the leeks and the melons. At least we could count on the food, the small portions of food that they were rationing out to y'all. That was okay with you. Well, we'd rather have the small portion and to get out here and not know nothing, not know where our next meal is coming from. I'm like, boy, indoctrination is a hard life. And a lot of people call it free and being free in Jesus Christ. No, but that is the hardest life. It's the hardest life because, first of all, you ignorant and you don't even realize that you are really still in bondage. And how often does your Jesus let you down? Like, seriously, can we talk about it? How often does Jesus really come through for you? How often are your prayers answered? Because not all of them are answered. Because you got some people die, you trust in Jesus to help you set them free, they die. What happened then, Jesus? I thought Jesus was perfect. Why is y'all giving him the will? And he known to let people die on his watch. Explain that. Oh, well, it's Jesus. It's all in, he knows better than we do. I got a problem with that, right? And call me to whatever you want to call me. But I'm asking questions, which is why I get kicked out of a lot of places. So I just... the familiarity and the ease, it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, I completely stopped the whole reading and started talking about how it really affected my shanana to go back into an atmosphere, and not even like physically, just like wandering, just checking inside of a group after quite a long time of not being there, just to see if anybody's grown. Is anybody talking about anything different other than being rescued from Babylon? Nope. Everybody's still waiting to be rescued from Babylon, from the shores of Babylon, right? Who coming to get us? I'm like, and I told him, I said, B, ain't nobody coming to get us. And I said that in my response as nice as I could. I said, if we're going to get free, like if we want to break out of, and I put Babylon, and I said, Babylon is everywhere. You just going to go from one portion of Babylon to another place where Babylon still rules. Because Babylon is really not a place, it's a mindset, and Babylon is happening all over the world. So where are you going to run to on this planet from Babylon? There's nowhere you're going to be able to run to get away from Babylon. You got to learn how to grow in it and then grow out of it and just live life knowing that you're free from Babylon. That's how you get free. I'm just like, B, I can't believe y'all don't understand that yet. So it's really heartbreaking to see that. And it's like, man, everybody got their own rate of growth that they go through. And it's just, we got a whole lifetime to grow, right? And hopefully your life is not cut short to where you don't even get to that point yet. And now you don't have a body to anchor you in, to help you grow in different areas, because this is a phase of life where our bodies are given to us on purpose, but we come in here defiling it from the get-go. Well, at least our parents teach us to defile it from the get-go. And a lot of times ignorantly, sometimes on purpose, but most of the time ignorantly, right? But when you become of age and you realize it, you start asking questions or can ask questions, you should ask questions. Don't let anybody squander you or don't allow nobody to put baby in the corner. Y'all ever watch Dirty Dancing? Nobody puts baby in the corner, right? Don't allow nobody to put you in the corner. Y'all better ask these questions, right? Because it's your life. And when it's time for you to grow spiritually, all of these questions that you did or didn't ask, you will have to deal with them sooner or later, right? So start asking them now. Hang out in the background of places. Observe people, right? See if true wisdom comes from there, right? And our spirits, a lot of time we can, our spirits, what's that word? Our spirits can recognize truth and recognize lies. If this is what I say. If you detox yourself for a period of time, because you may not be able to recognize truth. If you separate yourself from any type of indoctrination for, I'll say, I want to say 6 months, but I'm going to say, it's got to be at least a year, right? If you already asking questions, your spirit will come back out. I'll say your spirit will come back online a little bit quicker than some people who have been really indoctrinated. But if you're in that phase where you're asking questions, things not seeming right, oh my gosh, it's going to happen so fast for you. Just isolate yourself for a period of time, not from the creator, but isolate yourself from all. I ain't saying go disappear from the world, but as much as you can, try not to attend any kind of religious organization, anybody talking about anything, even me, if you're in that place, literally cut all of that off and only talk to Creator. Like, develop that. Like, Father, I don't know about everything else, but I know at least that you are real, might be real. There's definitely something bigger than I. Help me. Like, seriously, that's what I had to do. And I cut off everything. Stopped going to church because it was too many shenanigans, too many questions I was asking. Nobody was answering the questions. And all of these prayer requests and stuff that I had sitting on Jesus' desk in his file seemed like he picking and choosing. And the picking and choosing, I'm like, well, maybe I'm asking him, praying a mess. Dang. Like, shoot, can I even get a prayer through for my own daddy? What about my mama? I mean, not my mama, well, could my mama, whatever. But I'm talking about people that's passed already. Like, do you like not hear these prayers? Like, why, right? And I really needed to understand. Clearly, we know sometimes we don't treat our bodies as we should, and it has a lot of bearing on how long we live, right? But just even some of these other things, and it's really crazy, but just isolate yourself for a period of time. When you isolate yourself, your spirit will begin to come online, so to speak. It'll start pushing out. It's going to start asking a bunch of questions. It's like a water hose in the summer. When you go to cut it on, it's like all this hot, lukewarm water come out. All of that stuff got to come out before the cool water can start flowing through. It's kind of like that. That's the whole detox spiritually, but you have to separate yourself from where you have been getting indoctrinated at for a period of time. And then you'll begin to start noticing stuff. And your spiritual ears and your spiritual eyes will kind of start opening a little bit, and you can start seeing clearly a little bit, right? But you also have to be careful for your meaning, well-intentioned friends. Sis, what's going on? We ain't seen you at church. You know, at first I'm like, hey, so we're just checking on you. Want to make sure you ain't backslid. You know, the calls is nice at first. Then, you're backsliding. You stop paying your tithes and offering. And that's another way to kind of get you. Stop paying, your life and go down the drain. Well, if you believe that, it really will happen for you until you get strong enough and bold enough. Like, you know what? I'm sick of getting pastor my money, right? And it seemed like, what is y'all really doing to help the church to grow, for real, right? So call me a backslider, heathen, whatever, but I'm going to keep my money this month and I'm going to pay my bills, right? And you started doing that and you realize what's crazy. Some people don't believe it, but you have to try it to see. When you break out of the indoctrination of the church, especially if you've been a faithful tither and giver, not saying that you shouldn't bless people, but when you're under that strong delusion of doing that, where you're being forced to, but you're not being forced to, because you're willingly fighting to keep this lie alive in your life. They ain't got to do it no more. They just indoctrinated you well enough where now you fighting to stay blind. Same thing with tithes and offerings. Well, if I stop doing this, my life gonna go down the drain. I ain't gonna be able to. And I'm thinking I'm really having to rob Paul to pay Peter. No, you ain't. Take your money and pay your bills. Otherwise, you're going to be living on the street. And when you go ask the church for help, most of them, you need to go down here to ask where the church, Our Lady, Mount Carmel, or wherever the place where they send people to. That everybody know they ain't never got no money no more. They already gave it out to the people. And the church know that they sending you there to a place that you ain't going to get. Everybody already know you ain't going to get help when you go there anyway. Bro, I've been giving y'all faithfully every month. No, Isaiah, no, absolutely not. Schoolwork has not been done. No, every single month that I've been given faithfully. I need help one time. Well, we need to hold a meeting with the deacons board to see if we have anything left in the account for charity giving out to the members of the church. Because we have the building is going up. My nigga, that's what you think. Forgive me. Like, you wouldn't have a building going up if it wasn't for us. Isn't the building created for us? But you want the building to go up, but you want to neglect the people who can be housed inside of the building. Like, help that make sense to me, right? So, but all of this, you just got to isolate yourself from the source of indoctrination so your spirit can come online, so you can hear clearly from the spirit of Creator, right? Because he always talking to us. right? But when we break that line of light, when we become indoctrinated, and all we hear is things that's coming from the indoctrination line, and all your answers you get come from the indoctrination line, and the prayers that are being answered and truly are being answered, it's being answered by those on watching the indoctrination line. That's in line with the shenanigans and the foolery with the indoctrinated church, right? Because they pass down the rulers. Remember, it's different gods and lords and stuff in charge. You done broke yourself from the true line of light, and your prayers is being answered by the shenaniganizing team of angel hosts. So that's why Jesus don't be showing up. They're trying to, all right, which prayer should we answer? I don't know. Listen, they asking too many questions down here. We need to do cause the deacon to start fighting in the church. Have somebody go up there, rob the pastor or something. The pastor, he like all this crap going on, and we don't realize it. But anyway, y'all, I got to go. Tabitha, ain't it good? She said, Pammy, you have me hooked on the movie. It's the series, The Good Place. Y'all got to go watch it. Somebody else, either it was just me or BC, somebody yesterday said, who was that said, go look at uploads? And I put that on yesterday while I was watching, and I had to cut it off because I was it's almost like The Good Place. It's literally like another Good Place, but it's a little bit different spin on it. Like I was hollering and screaming because this part, well, I guess you kind of see that in A Good Place, but it's like a little bit more intimate with your angel host and getting to know them and having to actually keep it's like having a bunch of kids in the house and or running a daycare or something, everybody trying to do their own thing. It's really, really hilarious. It's funny. It's only 2 seasons and I'm about through with the first season. Letting it play and watching it. But after y'all watch The Good Place, y'all absolutely have to go watch Uploads. It's on Amazon. Uploads. Okay. Hold on. The Good Place. Go watch that series. It's The Good Place on Netflix or Amazon? I forgot. Series. I think it's Netflix, right? Watch. If y'all working or doing it, okay. Good Place is Netflix. Stick for hey, her, hey. There and then Uploads. Uploads is on Amazon Prime. It might be on somewhere else, but I saw it first on Amazon Prime, and since I got it, that's where I got it from. But if you read through Oahspe, it helps you with, not that it's all 100% correct, but it gives you some really good visuals of a lot of truth that we read in here, and we can kind of testify to truth. Some stuff, I think it's a little off, but it's a lot of stuff in there that's actually true, and we can actually see it playing out here and now, like in real time. But it's really funny. I think it's a really good. Those are 2 really good series that it's enlightening, and it helps you to realize that more than just people who read Oahspe really understand these principles of like the afterlife. And that's what's crazy, because when you're indoctrinated, let's just use Christianity. When you're indoctrinated in Christianity, they teach you to look at the world with this type of slant where, I don't even know how to say it, but just backwards. It's almost like it's a forward-facing outlook on life, but it's backwards too. It's crazy. I don't even really know how to explain it. They teach you how to have a good outlook on life. Like if you can take that positivity from Christianity, but merge the positivity with actual truth, right? Not just a bunch of hoopla and like the verse in where is it at? Is it in Hebrews where people who are worshiping the Father and not just in spirit but also in truth? It's kind of like that. If you can take the whole spirit part, right? Shoot, you can't even say spirit because they still kind of backwards. But the spirit of happiness, or the spirit of joy, let's take that. Take that, because I'm just like really deciphering and breaking it down in different levels. That spirit of joy, or that part right there. You take that part from Christianity, like walk with that feeling, like positive outlook on everything, but merge it with truth, because they have a lot of that spirit and joy, but it's full of ignorance, right? And when you begin to look at it exactly how it is, it can be dangerous and it's terrible and it leads you astray. So it's a overly imbalanced thing that they got going on, right? And sometimes when you try and merge it with truth, they actually reject the truth when it's right there in front of their face, like that boy that be doing videos that don't talk. He just like, why do I even have to open my mouth and say words? It's like right there, right? So, all right, y'all, that's enough for today. In a good place. I love, that's good, right? It's real good. Now, when they get to the bad place, I don't want to give it away. You just keep watching it. You will see as things transition, but it'll make you actually look at life here. And I'm just like, well, doggone. Could we actually be in a bad place right now? Like all of these different thoughts are just looking at different things. And I think we're like this. I don't know. It's still like the beginning stages of life for us, right? Those who have been born here, still the beginning stages of life for us. And we learn how to decipher truth from error. Hopefully you don't lose your body early before you can actually figure out that and recognize illusions, delusions. That's one of the main things we have to be able to separate here in this life, right? Separate while we're here in this life, corporal, spiritual, like emotional. Like we got to be able to separate all those things and be able to decipher, right? Yeah, we are progressing. But y'all, we have got to go today, right? So we're going to pause right here where we was at. I think I'm going to just, I'm going to reread this chapter tomorrow. We didn't even get halfway through it. Chapter 11 is what we're going to pick back up. And we're not going to read Field Guide to the Spirit World. We'll pick that back up tomorrow. And I'm almost 30 minutes over my time today. But I really have to go. Thank y'all for hanging out. It is Tuesday, February 7, 2023, day 327 of year 4 of reading through books, laws, and prophets. And of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1,346. And we read chapters 7 and 8 in Romance of the Red Star. Remember, that's just another title of Oahspe published by different authors. Same chapter started chapter 9. I say 7 through 9. I'm sorry. Chapters 9 through 10 is what we read. Chapters 9 through 10. Same thing in big blue. We'll pick back up with chapter 11 tomorrow. Chapter 11. All right, and we'll pick Field Guide to the Spirit World back up tomorrow too, if I don't interrupt with some other type of story. But anyway, beautiful people, thank y'all for hanging out today. I love y'all, and I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.